All right. Welcome back for another episode of the Nine Hole Podcast with David and Ian. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. David, I appreciate you being here.
Let's go.
So we had one of the varsity baseball coaches, kind of local around here in Ohio, say that he would like us to maybe touch on or talk about staying locked in. Verbatim, his exact words were, "I'd love to hear a conversation about getting your mind right for a game on a day where you've already failed, i.e., for example, bombing a test. Your girlfriend dumped you, something like that, something where it kind of takes you out of your element, takes your mind out of it. How do you lock back in? How do you kind of refocus up? Maybe some tips and tricks, things that work for us, personal experience, all that kind of stuff. Like how are you able to stay present and perform at an elite level? Man, I got a couple things circled here. A lot of it talks about routines. So
Yeah.
I figured this would probably be a perfect time to kind of just ask you about like your routine. What was your routine going into a game? Obviously, you were a pitcher. I was a
hmm
position player, so our days looked different. Going into the game looked different. Our preparation looked different. Our practice looked different. All pregame stuff looked different. What was your routine to kind of start getting you mentally locked in before a game, even before you even got to the field?
Yeah. I mean, it depended on if I was starting or closing or in the bullpen. But say I was starting, I mean, I knew I had 5 days leading up to my next start. So the week would vary a little bit, but I'd get my workouts in, my running in, all my conditioning, all that. But say it was the day of my start, the night before, I tried to get a good night's sleep. I wasn't, I was careful what I put in my body the night before. I try to load up on some type of energy, balancing food like high carb, something like that. Try to get a good night's sleep. I wouldn't want to sleep in too late. I think that was important, especially when you're a little younger. These kids, I feel like, can sleep till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. If you got a game at 7 o'clock that night, that's not going to be beneficial if you're awake
Oversleeping.
for 4 hours. So I think getting a good night's sleep, waking up in a timely manner, starting your routine, whether that's, I mean, baseball players are really superstitious to begin with. Like for me, like if I had like a good meal, like say I woke up and I had 3 waffles, put some peanut butter on it, a cup of coffee or whatever, and I went out and had a good start, I'd probably do that for the rest of the year.
Absolutely.
It's a little silly. And to touch on what that coach asked, that's a tough, difficult question because you don't know until you know. And these younger kids that, just got dumped for the first time or bombed a test, whatever, they don't have as much life experience as you would when you're 30 or 40,
For sure.
so as long as they try to keep that mindset where this too shall pass, we use a lot of cliches in baseball, but if they can focus on the task at hand and stick to that routine, I think you touched on that. If they can just, no matter what's going on, hardships in the family, personal issues, if you could stick to that routine, don't let anything, your dog's sick, your dad's not doing well, your girlfriend dumped you, but you still got a job to do.
Yeah, still got the task at hand. You still gotta compete, right? You're present. You're here, right? You're where your feet are is another little saying that I'm obviously stealing from the Mariners, right? We talked about it last episode. They were head and shoulders above anything that we've experienced or seen or dealt with, especially from the mental game. So just maybe talking about staying in the moment, staying present, how to kind of get back from all those troubles that are, taking your mind away from the game. What was something that you would do or use to kind of lock back in? So I talked to Jamie Moyer yesterday about this, right? Talked to you about having the conversation with him. Basically just trying to find out what worked for him. What did he do to kind of stay present, stay locked in, especially when you got 30 to 50,000, depending on the situation, right? Tens of thousands of people watching you. the one thing that he said, and the one thing that I know is true about him is he would always use the acronym KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep
Hmm.
it simple, stupid.
That's awesome.
The more you think, the more you stink. That's a funny little rhyme, man, but that's true. Think about how hard baseball is. Think about how hard, any type of sport is in general, especially playing it at a high level. The more you kind of cloud your focus, the more you have on your brain, the more that you don't clear that stuff, and you walk up to the plate or you toe the rubber, and you got all this shit going on in your head. You're thinking about, I got this science test tomorrow, or I got detention, or I got just anything that's going on,
Yeah.
right? If you're not fully focused on the present, and the present task at hand, how are you going to be able to perform at your highest, right? So we talked a little bit about obviously the mental edge, the mental strength, being able to kind of set yourself apart from the pack. We also touched about meditation, breathing, talked about,
That's huge.
just being able to calm down, take a deep breath, getting focused, getting centered. Um, were there any type of, breathing techniques or any type of like things that you would do in between pitches, in between, innings? Like,
Yeah.
so after you had an inning, say you go 1, 2, 3, or, say you give up a run and you go back to the bench, like, what are you doing in between that inning, right? When your team's batting and then you're about to go back out, like, how do you clear your mind? How do you just reset, to kind of relate to the situation? Like, hey, these kids, look, man, he had a bad day or he got dumped. Like, how would they be able to reset? And how did you do that? How did it work for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, the rules have changed a little bit in Major League Baseball, but I had to deal with it a little bit in AAA with the pitch clock and all that. Um, but I mean, I preach this to my
Even
younger.
more external factors, by the way,
Yeah.
not to interrupt you. That's it.
Yeah.
That's just another thing that is affecting your external that might affect how you are
Yes.
pitching on the mound. So how, yeah.
So I preach this to my kids right now, and I think the beauty of being a pitcher is nothing happens in the game of baseball until you throw that baseball.
Mm.
Good, bad, indifferent, whatever. And I loved that control. And those doubts and, self-doubts creep in all the time. But if I could, another cliche, clear the mechanism, step off the rubber, reset. Sometimes I'd come set and I'd have a changeup grip in my hand and it wouldn't feel right. And I'd be like, do not throw this pitch. It doesn't.
Yeah. Why would you throw that pitch?
I don't feel right. So I take a step off, and I would always. I used to go from a full wind up and then kind of like a hybrid stretch wind up, and then I just got to a stretch because it was simple. But every time I'd come set, I would take a exaggerated deep breath, and I was set. Sometimes I'd hold for 5 seconds, sometimes I'd hold for 1, 2, whatever. But I always mixed up my timing. But another cliche, one pitch at a time. If I could really focus on that, say I had 70 pitches, 90 pitches, whatever, how many pitches a game? 14. If I came in for one inning. If I could lock in, and you're a human being, you're not a robot, you're going to make mistakes. But if you can have that focus for one pitch at a time, I promise you results will happen. And take a deep breath in between.
yeah.
And if something feels wrong, step out, step off. And in between innings, I mean, I would always have like a jacket or a hoodie and I'd put it over one arm. Maybe that, scientifically, maybe they found that really doesn't do anything, but it worked for me. Mentally, I was like, okay, I'm warm. I'm keeping my body warm. Yeah. And I'd still be engaged with my teammates. If they got a hit, I'd jump up and smack them, and high five and be like, great job, man. But I'd go right back to my spot.
Love that.
Yeah. It wasn't necessarily superstitious or anything like that. It's just I was comfortable in that. And this is the weirdest thing, but I always remembered I felt like I had to pee. I felt like I had to use the bathroom all the time. And I would go, in between the inning or something, like I got to go so bad. And I wouldn't even need to go to the bathroom, actually. You know what I mean? Like it was just feeling. And I knew sometimes this is ridiculous, but I knew when I was about to ready to take the mound, if I felt like this urge to go to the bathroom, to go take a pee, that it was going to be a good day.
I love that. Dude, I love that. I did the same
hold
thing.
I'd hold it in for like 9 innings. If I had a complete game, I'd be like, by the end of that game, I was filling it up.
Yeah, dude. So just touching on the mental, the focus, staying locked in aspect of it, and to just totally piggyback off the Mariners yet again. They had a saying. This started from Andy McKay's the first time I ever heard it, who was the farm director of the Mariners, a big time mental skills guy. 16 for 16. So on average, this is me kind of referring to a position player, somebody that's going to get 4 or 5 ABs. So on average, in professional baseball in the major leagues, I don't know what level this was recorded at, but on average, you're going to get 4 at bats a night. On average, you're going to see 4 pitches per at bat, right? So 4 times 4, right? 4 at bats times 4 pitches each. That's 16. So the Mariners thing, I think this was in 2016. So when we started, implementing it, is try to go 16 for 16. You're going to see 16 pitches tonight. Try to win all 16 pitches. How are you going to be able to do that? How would you even be able to do that? The best players in the world can't even do that. And they can't. Yeah. Some nights they might be able to, but it's impossible or it's tough to continue doing that.
Isn't it nuts so when you simplify it, that when you break it down, it's that simple. 16 is, a higher number, whatever, but my Uncle Brad, who runs that pitching academy that I give lessons at, he's got 25 years of professional coaching experience, and he had like an analogy the other night. He was working with an older kid. He's like, how long does it take you to throw each pitch in your bullpen? And, it breaks down to like maybe 2 seconds from the time you start your windup to the ball hitting the glove. He's like, say you throw, 30 pitches or whatever. That equals out to like 2.5 minutes. Your bullpen. You got to focus for 2.5 minutes. Yeah, there's some stuff in between. But realistically, in a game, like say you break it down per pitch and you throw 85 pitches or whatever, and it takes you this long, like maybe you got 5-6 minutes of actual like exertion of energy into the pitch. And yeah, there's a lot of external factors that come into play there. But if you could simplify the game, because baseball is a hard game. There's a lot of geometry. There's a lot of math. There's a lot of, round ball, round bat. It's hard.
People are going to make errors behind you.
Yeah. A lot of time. Like that's what I try to really get my kids to lock in on. Like you have 5-10 seconds in between each pitch, and you get that ball, walk back to the mound, take a second, like look around you, or maybe not. Like you got to figure out what works for you. For me, sorry, my baby's freaking out.
Going crazy back there.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, did you ever step out of the box and just go, I'm here? Like,
Yeah, dude, the game is won. The game is won or lost in those, that brief little period in between pitches, man. So my not pregame routine, my routine in between pitches during at bats would be, obviously it's a little different with the pitch clock now, the shot clock now. But dude, I take a pitch or I take a swing, whatever it is, ball 1, strike 1, and I step out. I look at my bat and I focus in on the signature of my bat. Right.
Something.
You take a look at the bat. If you have the bat model at the the end of the bat, or you have your signature on the bat, or anything it is. Did
you have your actual signature on it?
I did when I got to a certain level.
I mean, how cool is that though? Like you could actually like look back and be like, holy cow! Yeah, like I have my signature on my own bat. Like that right Absolutely. There could reset you a little bit.
Dude. I would focus in on the signature of my bat. I step out in between pitches. I put 1 foot out. Obviously, now the rules might dictate a little bit more of what you can do and you can't do. Yeah. Step out, and I would just look, take a deep breath, breathe out, and I would say in my head, man on third, no outs, home run to center field.
Yeah.
Man on third, no outs, home run to center field. And then I'm back in the box, and I am looking for a fastball right down the middle. Dude, that's pretty simple. So
yeah,
man on third, no outs, home run to center field. I have my plan. I have what I'm trying to do, what I'm trying to accomplish, what I'm looking for, right? I have all that. I'm keeping it simple. Man on third, no outs, home run to center. So what am I trying to do? I'm trying to effectively hit the ball in the air, get a sac fly, and I'm trying to stay in the middle of the field. Yeah. Trying to stay in the middle of the field. I'm looking for a fastball down the middle. That's it. Man on third, no outs, home run to center, back in the box. Boom.
Has that been a lost
5-10 seconds?
Yeah, has that been a lost start? Because when I was coming up hitting, it was more old school coaching and everything, and I always thought line drives right back at the pitcher.
Yeah,
like I wanted to go line drives up the middle, and then sometimes I'd pull the ball, sometimes I go opposite field. But my My goal was always to go back to where it came from.
Yeah, dude, that
know?
is I love that. Dude, that's simple. So this was the first year that I started doing that. It was in 2019, and I had made some swing adjustments. Right, I was a bunt and run, defensive guy. I just run fast, can't
How many
hit.
bombs did you have that year?
Like 11 or 12
Yeah.
out of nowhere. Obviously, the balls were a little harder that year. They made the balls wound tighter, but I still had to put the ball in the air and hit it right, getting good counts
Yeah.
and have good mechanics. That's just, I needed to simplify my approach. I needed to simplify my mindset, and I needed to reset in between every pitch, right? I'm stepping out. It's 0-2. It's 0-2, and I'm not thinking, hey, dude, this guy's got a really good changeup. This guy throws 95. The umpire's got a pretty wide zone, so I'm just, you're done. It's a strike three already if you step out and you're thinking about that, dude. You got to keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. I step out, man on third, no outs, home run to center field. Like sac fly, home run to center field. If I'm early, I pull it in the gap because I'm trying to stay up the middle. If I'm early, I hit it in the gap, right? If I'm late, I go up or I go up the, you know what I mean? Dude, that's as simple as I could have made it. And that's just the verbiage that worked for me. So it's obviously, how are you going to get good at something? How are you going to get good at baseball? How are you going to get good at throwing an off-speed pitch? How are you going to get good at, bunting or hitting line drives? Dude, it's
or have routine, yeah.
So how are you going to get better at staying locked in and staying present and maybe refocusing? Dude, you got to work on it. So for me, that's what that meditative practice was, that meditative piece. That's what meditation did for me. I'm like, hey, dude, I don't need to start meditating and like, getting all zened out and growing a ponytail and shit and, getting, you know what I mean? Dude, that's not what it is,
different
man.
forms of it.
Dude, it was a way for me to just, I've never done anything really took the time to like focus on the mental aspect of this stuff and getting locked in. And for me, it took me out of my comfort zone because I never was doing meditation before or focusing on the mental aspect of stuff. So I kind of went out of my comfort zone. I tried something new, right? I talked to my coaches who had experienced this and had experience in this, and they were professional. Dude, it's, you really have to put in the effort, maybe try something new. Look, dude, what's the definition of insanity? It's like doing the same things over
the same result
and over again and expecting different results. Man. So it's like, hey, dude, look, I'm 27 years old. 2019, I'm having these like okay years, but they're not great. And, I'm having decent numbers, but they're not that great. I can steal a base and I can play some defense and I can run fast, but like I'm not a major league player. Like, how can I separate myself and just get that extra umph, like get that extra out of me? It's like, dude, well, I mean, I'm zoning out in between pitches. I'm really not locked in. Like, this is another thing that I wanted to touch on, right? Are you paying attention during the game? Like, are you a student of the game? So you had talked about in between your innings or in between your outings, right? Let's say you throw 14 pitches in the inning, you get out of the inning, or you give up a run in the inning and you go back to the bench. You said, yeah, something would happen with my team. They'd bat, I'd slap hands, and then I'd go back to my bench and sit and like just focus. It's like, dude, you're watching the game. You're being a good teammate. Like, you're present, you're focused. Maybe you're going over your game plan, but you have a game plan. You have a routine. Like, you have things that you're trying to do and execute on. You're doing shit with purpose, on purpose. You're not just going through the motions. So, dude, you're doing all that. You don't even have time to think about that test you just failed.
Yeah.
Or like that rent you got to pay. Or like, your girlfriend dumping you. You know what I mean?
If you can flip that switch.
Yeah, dude. Like, so obviously there's benefits to watching the game. I obviously talked about, I keep a notebook of pictures and pitches and tabs on stuff, what they threw me and what counts. Like, dude, that's how I got my mental edge. It also helped me like stay in the game, dude. Was there anything that you did like that maybe, I don't know.
Yes, that was like, different too. We would have these meetings right before the series.
Yeah.
And it would say, oh, Ian Miller, left-handed bat, really fast, can go opposite field, wants to hit the ball up the middle, backdoor sliders, whatever. Like, whatever they saw on the graphs, we would try to attack. This is not the best advice, but I felt better pitching to my strengths than your weaknesses.
Okay.
Than any, it could be whatever hot bat in the order. I mean, we faced some pretty big time guys at the AAA level, and we'd have all these meetings and go over, a plan of attack, and maybe a few of these guys would pop out in my head and be like, okay, this guy doesn't like change ups away. Maybe I'd hone in on that a little bit, but for the most part, I wanted to pitch how I pitched. I wasn't going to reinvent the wheel to get one guy out. And sometimes that worked in my favor, and sometimes it didn't. But
Yeah.
I felt more confident. I could go home, lay my head down on my pillow, and sleep, knowing that that guy beat me with my best stuff,
Yes.
not my third best pitch.
You didn't give in to try to.
Yeah. And the mindset in the bullpen is completely different than as a starter. I mean, I did all of it. But in the bullpen, those guys are insane, right? They're kooky, they're wacky, but you got to know your role. And hopefully that role is established for you earlier in the season. But I was more of a long reliever. I threw 90 miles an hour. Like my average fastball throughout my career was 90.5 miles an hour or something. Like I wasn't blowing it by you, but I had those moments in my career where I thought I was this like power pitcher, right? I wanted to be the nastiest guy on the team. And I had to look in the mirror and reevaluate myself and be like, no, you throw a sinker, you can pitch at 90 miles an hour, 89, have a good changeup and a get me over slider. That's who you are. I was like, you can work on things in practice to get better, but when you go out there on a mound and you have a different uniform standing in the box against you with a bat in his hands, I was like, you got to be who you got to be. So in the bullpen, if it was the fourth inning and I saw the starters kind of struggling, I'd move around a lot. I'd start stretching. I'd get my blood flowing a little bit, slam some water, whatever it is to kind of be. And some guy's telling you a story and you're trying to stretch. I mean, I remember you'd come into town from Tacoma to Albuquerque, and you want to talk about guys that were so structured in their routine.
Oh, baby. I did not mess around, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I remember we'd get a Starbucks, and I'd pick you up in my old Bronco.
That's right. And go to Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, we go to Chick-fil-A, or we get a Starbucks really quick, and then you were like, I got to get back to the hotel.
Yeah, I got to take my pregame shower, dude. Dude, so my routine every day, my wife will tell you the same thing. She lived with me for, ever, right? Since 2018. Yeah. Dude, I had a pregame routine that I would stick to every day. And it would change depending on if I'm on the road or if I'm at home, if I'm in the comfort of my own home, right? Or if it's a day game or if it's a night game. I had the same routine every day, every year, and I'd make changes to it. Obviously, as new things popped up, right? As new, dude, if I needed to work a little extra, if something was working for me pregame, right? If I had needed to hit the cage, yeah. But like I'm doing shit on purpose, with purpose. Are you practicing with intent? So you're having trouble locking in during the game, or you can't get to that. That mentality. You can't just flip a switch like that to get locked in for the game. So like maybe take a step back and look at how you're preparing for your game. Number one, I mean, are you paying attention during the game? Are you being a good teammate during the game? How do you even know what's happening during the game if you're just messing around, talking to your teammate about what you guys are doing this weekend, or talking about like, dude, so you're not doing stuff on purpose with purpose.
It's a couple hours of your night.
Are you practicing with intent, dude? So like, man, I'm having trouble locking in during the game. I'm zoning out. I'm thinking about stuff. Well, like, how do you practice?
Yeah.
Like, how do you probably practice like that too? Like if I'm in the cage, right? It's a set routine. That's what the major leaguers do. Why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I practice like the major leaguers, dude? If I'm a minor leaguer or a collegiate athlete or a high school guy, I'm looking up to people that I want to be like. I'm trying to take their jobs. So why wouldn't I do what they're doing?
Well, that was my whole point to that was you and I have known each other a long time. We've been through, a lot of hardships together. We were very close. I was in your wedding.
Yeah.
But my whole point to that is you'd come in town and you wanted to catch up with me. You wanted to see me. You wanted to laugh and have fun. But you were like, hey, let's go get a coffee. But then I'm right back to my routine.
I'm not deviating from that routine.
Yeah. And I think that's huge because, I mean, too many of these young kids that I see at these academies and stuff, I'm like, we've talked about this, but I'm like, what are you working on? I don't see them working on anything. They're just like, they're just hitting to hit. They're just throwing to throw. And I'm like, my catch partner, I think you met him when I was in AA, Matt Pierpont, was more, more instrumental to my success at the higher levels than any coach I've ever had. I'd play catch with him and I'd throw him like this nasty sinker in my mind. And he'd be like, no. I was like, what? And we go watch video and he's like, what are you trying to, where are you trying to throw this ball? And I'm like, down and in. And I'd miss a little over the middle. And he's like, you missed your spot. And I was like, you're being like mean, man. Like, why are you being so rude? And he's like, do you want to get better? And we'd put like, he'd put his glove on his left hip. He'd put his glove on his right hip. You know, we'd move the ball around. And if I missed, he'd be like, nope. And at first it really pissed me off. I was like, dude, what does this guy have against me? But he loved me. He saw my potential. And he was a good friend. And now he's the assistant pitching coordinator for the Mariners right now, actually.
I love that.
Yeah.
Dude,
he's insane.
Those guys, like people that achieve that type of, you know, success or have that type of the it factor, at least on the mental side of things, man, they're doing stuff with purpose and they're doing it on purpose. So you think about, they talk, you know, the Mamba mentality, right? Yeah. Kobe Bryant would be able to lock in and just, he's on a different planet. He's on a different, you know, he's got a different mindset. He's a competitor and that's all that matters. Like maybe you start thinking about, I'm preaching to the, you know, the high school kid, maybe struggling with this aspect of being able to lock in and just like turn it on. I don't know, man. Maybe you throw on some headphones.
Yeah, music.
Maybe you listen to a song. Same, dude. Absolutely. And
you lock in. Yeah, there's a brand new documentary that just came out about like the second dream team for the NBA, and Kobe Bryant's on that. And they were playing Spain, I think, and Paul Gasol is his teammate. Was his teammate on the actual Lakers, and he's like, "Hey, I know what they're going to run the first play. Paul's going to come off and set a screen for me, and I'm going to run right through him." And he goes, "I'm going to run right through that mother effer." And like LeBron and Dwayne Wade are like, "Come on, like whatever, dude, that's your teammate." And sure enough, first play of the Olympics, Paul Gasol comes up to set a screen. Kobe Bryant runs directly through him, knocks him on his ass. That's his own teammate. But he wasn't teammates with them in that moment. That was his competition. And that is huge. Like a lot of guys that got up, Nolan Arenado, my top 5 baseball players of all time. You talk about a guy that's hones in on his craft and has a routine. A lot of younger kids, when they got up to the big leagues, you know, because in AAA you come up and down all the time.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys would say Nolan Arenado would make the clubhouse hard because it wasn't as loose as they thought it would be. But I always respected that about Nolan because if they lost, he was pissed off. His whole day was ruined. He just worked his ass off. Yes, it's a team sport, but they lost. He doesn't want music on. He doesn't want people laughing and joking around like, hey, where are we getting dinner night, you know, or the spread was all right. He sits in his locker room with his head down like the world just ended. That guy, I mean, is that the right way to do it? I don't know, but I respected it.
Dude, I love that. And dude, if at least trying to relate it to my experience. So my wife would come to every game. I'm thinking about my last year playing in 2021. My wife would be at every game. You know, obviously if we're on the road, circumstances are different. She would be at every game. And I'm not saying I would have a great game every game, but say I would go for 4 and I'm leaving the clubhouse. It's 11. I just got out of a 7:00 game, you know, and I'm leaving the clubhouse. I'm like, damn it, dude, I just went over 4. My batting average is now below 250. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to get called up this year. This year's a waste, but like I'm almost 30 years old. So, you know, you have all these external factors. And then as soon as I would step out of the clubhouse to go, you know, see my wife or my dog or go home, it's like, it's gone.
Yeah, reset.
Gone. As soon as I left the clubhouse, dude, boom, I'm in a different world. I'm in my personal world. I'm not, dude, I can turn that competitor off and I wipe it. Because, dude, I don't need my 0 for 4 affecting how I interact with my wife. My wife I didn't see my wife today. I was at the field for 12 hours today, working early. You know what I mean? Getting after it. I'm not going to come home after a 12-hour day of not seeing her. She was just sitting at my game, sweating. You know what I mean? And why would I? Yeah, dude. Why would I go? Why would I need to go home in a bad mood and it affect my relationship? So maybe that's a thing. When I would step in, I'd arrive at the field, right? I try to be the first one as much as possible.
Same.
I'd step in, and it's like boom. As soon as I stepped in, dude, I'm all business. Talking about the Mamba mentality.
Yeah.
right? I'm not an expert on the Mamba mentality, but maybe it's something that you can kind of trick yourself into having an alter ego.
I call it the
Not no.
Avatar effect.
Ooh,
Yeah. So I was obsessed with Wade Davis. He was a closer for the Royals. He
yes,
came over for
dude.
the Rockies.
Yes,
He had
it's the
super
World Series
simple.
in
Yeah.
2014 with the Royals,
He was
right?
nasty. Yeah, as nasty as you could be.
Gerard Dyson,
Yeah. All those
yeah,
guys.
Lorenzo Cain, Gore.
So I loved his mechanics. He had a similar size to me. I tried to model myself after him. When I would throw my bullpen, I would seriously envision like laying down in like a little avatar bed and getting into my avatar suit, which was Wade Davis. And I would jump on the mound and I was Wade Davis. And I would try to do the
Transform.
same. Yeah, I would try to come set the way he did. I would try to, call my pitches the way he did, finish the way he did. Like he had such simple, easy mechanics that he repeated every time. Flash forward a couple of years later, I was throwing a bullpen right next to him in big league camp with the Rockies.
That's
You know,
on
but
purpose with
yeah,
purpose.
I tell that to all my kids. I'm like, a little lefty. I'm like, hey, check out John Lester. Your build reminds me of John Lester. Watch how he comes set. Watch how he lifts his leg. How high
And
is
now
it?
you're a student of the game, and now
Yeah.
you're paying attention and focusing on stuff.
These
Now
kids
you're
got
trying to do
YouTube.
stuff.
They could type in Jacob DeGrom slow motion mechanics.
That's right.
What kind of homework are you doing on your own to get better?
I'd obsess over that stuff too.
When I had my elbow surgery, my Tommy John surgery, I had some good coaches and stuff, but I didn't know anything about biomechanics, any of that. And I had so much time on my hands because the first couple months are just stretching that I obsessed over it. I was like, I'm going to get over this and I'm going to be better for it. But I'd had to learn a lot. Like before Tommy John, my head was like over here and my elbow was way out. And after my pictures, everything was cleaned up,
Yeah, dude. You can go through life or your career. It's especially, it's magnified, it's amplified, an injury going through sports, right? It shuts everything down. So then you just have time to think. But you can go through these obstacles or these difficulties and it be that. You can look at it like that, or you can look at that as like an opportunity to maybe grow. Dude, depending on your mindset and the way you perceive things and the way you go about doing things, the way you look at things, man, can really influence pretty much everything, dude.
Yeah.
The way you execute. Just talking about the Pierpont thing that, we're getting close to time, man. I don't want to keep rambling, but it's like you're playing
Find you
catch
a
with
Pierpont.
purpose.
Yeah,
Dude, you're
you a
playing
Pierpont.
catch with purpose. Think about that. That's the first thing you're doing.
Yeah.
You're out there playing catch with a purpose. I'm just teleporting back to like watching Ichiro long toss or watching Ichiro in the cage, dude.
Watching Ichiro do anything.
Watching Ichiro do
Yeah.
anything. Watching Ichiro rub his feet out on the floor with a lacrosse ball.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, this guy shows up. He's not goofing around.
No.
Not saying you can't have fun, dude, but this guy's locked in from the moment he steps in. The moment he's in the cage doing soft toss, grunting. This guy's every time. Not like that, but he's grunting every time he's swinging, dude.
Yeah,
like
he's trying.
He's locked in. He's focused. He's doing stuff with a purpose. He's out there. You can probably see videos of this guy throwing or doing his long toss routine. You can see how like this guy is going
Edgar
through.
Martinez the same way when he would do his soft toss, but he had like a green side of the ball, a yellow side, a red side, whatever, and he would yell green like on contact of the bat.
Yeah.
So he was seeing what tiny little color on the ball.
This before the game's even started.
Yeah.
So these guys are locking in. They're practicing with intent, right?
Yeah.
You're practicing with intent. Maybe you'll be able to perform with intent, right? If you practice maybe some meditation, like, dude, I have the Calm app. I do the Calm app every single night with my wife before bed, like to just clear my mind, just so I can go to bed. That helps me, dude. I'm also doing these 5-10 minute meditations before game time, dude, before first pitch, just clearing my head. Like that was part of my routine, but that's me practicing getting like mentally cleared. That's me kind of locking in, How are you going to go out there and try to hit a home run or you throw a shutout and you're not practicing it?
Yeah.
I don't know. How are you going to lock in if you're never trying to practice locking in?
I guess really the best advice I could give that I've kind of come up with throughout this conversation today is be honest with yourself and realistic with yourself, especially young players. I wish I could have had this mindset earlier in my career. Like when I met Pierpont, he changed my outlook on pitching because I would intentionally do this. Like if I missed 2 spots but it was 0-2. I'd be like, okay, I'm 0-2, like awesome, but I just completely missed by 3 feet. And I'd go and I'd ask these younger kids in spring training, some rookie ball kid comes up to the AAA group and throws 2 scoreless innings and he's pumped up. That's awesome. I want him to be pumped up. Or I would go stand, go grab a foul ball or something like one of my off days and watch a young kid pitch in a spring training game. And I would go up to him on purpose and ask him like, hey man, how'd you do? And I saw his outing. He's like, dude, phenomenal. Right. Oh, I didn't give up any runs. Gave up like 1 hit. I had like 2 strikeouts. I'm like, all right. In my head, I'm going, you were 3-0 on the first guy. You got to 3-1 on the next guy. He popped up deep to center field, barely missed the ball. You walked the next guy. You walked the guy after that. You had guy in first and second. You got a weak ground ball, jammed a guy on a 2-1 pitch that you tried to go outside with. Broke his bat, sure, but that nothing was intentional there.
Yeah.
Like you were just throwing to throw.
Got lucky. Yeah.
You really got lucky. And the higher
Going
up you
through
get,
the motions.
you don't get lucky. If you're missing spots, those are hits. Those are home runs. Those are doubles off the wall.
You're not doing stuff with purpose. The higher up you go, like.
Yeah. And I wish I'd call my dad. My earlier, bad hitters, young kids, a lot of free swinging guys, and I would have a lot of strikeouts in rookie ball. And I was throwing pretty hard, but I was 2-0, 3-0. My first pitch strikes weren't up. And then once I kind of really honed in on that, it was strike 1, strike 2. Maybe I'll try to bury something. Or I'm coming right back at you. And that's where I kind of took off. But
I love that.
Be honest with yourself.
I love it. No, the only thing that matters is the next pitch, dude.
Yeah.
And, just one pitch at a time, dude. Yeah. So that's all I got. You got anything else you want to throw in there? I mean, this has been fire.
No, I mean, even if pitching perspective, like if you say you give up 2 runs in the first inning, so what? Like hopefully you go 5 innings. You go 5 innings, give up 2 runs, you give your team a chance. And that's all it is. Right. Like winning, it can be selfish, especially in the minor leagues, but do it for your teammates. Be that guy that they're like, oh, Holman's pitching tonight. Like we got a chance. And I love that feeling. Admit it, it's kind of embarrassing to admit, but I remember my bad outings. I wanted to forget about them as quick as possible. But my ego after my good outings, I subconsciously, almost selfishly, I was like, why aren't more people talking about this?
Yeah.
And that's my stupid ego that would get in the way. Like I would go out and dominate, give up, 1 run through 7 innings and have 9 strikeouts or something and be like, all right, I got a couple high fives, but I'm like, why aren't you guys giving me more?
Yeah.
And that's something like a humbling experience. I had to be like, no one cares. You did your job. That's what you were supposed to do.
Yeah. It's what you're expected to do, dude.
You need a hug. You need everyone to hug you and give you a kiss, like you did your job. Yeah. That's what you're supposed to do. You got a couple high fives. Awesome. Build off of it.
Nice job. Now do it again next time. You know what I mean? I love that, dude. That's not just trying to stay even keel, I'm sure is like another great thing. Maybe we could, leave off on. It's like staying even keel, not getting too high, not getting too low, when things are going great, not being, hey, look at me. Yeah, I'm 4 for 4. Your teammate's probably 0 for 4.
Sucked at that. I was like, why are you guys like, I just pitch really well. Why aren't you guys like worshiping me? And that's something I had to like, I'm embarrassed to admit that, but I did that.
Dude,
if you went 3 for 4 with, a triple and 2 home runs, you're like, guys, did anyone see that? No one cares. Yeah.
I get it. 100%. All right, man. Well, I love that. Maybe practicing with intent, man. Practicing with intent. Anything you do it with intent. You get a chance. So, there's a whole bunch of stuff everybody's dealing with. Just how are you going to be able to clear it and then lock in? I mean, you could practice with intent, do anything with intent. Appreciate it. Appreciate, everybody tuning in. Appreciate you, David, making time on a Saturday.
Hopefully the baby isn't ruining this in the background at the beginning. But
good, man. I think I'll probably be in the same boat here coming up soon. So It's all good. It's all good. All right. Well, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys again next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.